Hi, this is Alcan. Welcome back to my channel. I'm looking through the situation with the New York prison strike. I think it's gone from 35 prisons to 40 prisons now on strike. The situation's been out of control since, it turns out, February 17th, and we're only finding out about this situation a few days ago. I was checking on X's Grok for information about this strike, and here's the beginning and the latest from this thing. It says correction officers in New York State prison started an unsanctioned strike around February 17, 2025. The union didn't authorize the strike, but the members did it on their own. The strike affected 30 to 40 of 42 prisons. It started with 30, now it's over 40 prisons, protesting unsafe conditions, understaffing, and the law limiting solitary confinement. This is a big issue here with the overtime as well. Governor Kathy Hochul deployed the National Guard and took legal action, but the strike continued as of February 23rd, 2025. Inmate unrest, including riots, has complicated the situation with negotiations ongoing. Even though the union didn't sanctuary the strike, they're trying to get into negotiations and try to resolve this. Now, here's a background. The strike began due to correction officers concerned over chronic understaffing, mandate overtime. You could finish your 8-hour shift and you had to still stay there. There's a shortage. You could be up there up to 24 hours or 40 hours. It depends how bad it is. And the Humane Alternate to Long-Term Halt Solitary Confinement Act, which they believe has increased violence in prison. The officers feel unsafe and unsupported, especially after a recent incident like the beating of an inmate, Robert Brooks, in December 2024, ruled a homicide. Was it really a homicide? I don't trust these investigators as of lately. Look at what happened with Alan Bragg's with Daniel Penny. Governor's response. Governor Hochul has deployed 3,500 National Guard troops to manage prison operations, including distributing meals and medication, obtaining a court order to end the strike. Legal action under the Taylor Law, which prohibits public employee strikes, have been initiated with potential fines for strikers. Meaning for every day you're out, you lose 2 days' pay. But reality, the fine is the first day is $2,000. The second day, it doubles to $4,000. The third day, it goes to $8,000. The fourth day goes to $1,800. Add all that up, you're over $15,000 to the state. Current status and challenges. As of February 23rd, 2025, the strike remains unresolved with negotiations continuing. Inmate unrest such as riots at Riverview and Collins correction facilities are added to the tensions. Families and inmates report disruptions, including canceled visits and limited access to service. They are concerned that the meals are not being properly prepared, medications are being mixed up. There's other situations. The surprising details is inmate takeover. A particular alarming development is reports on X on inmates taking over some prisons with officials locked in, which escalated the crisis beyond typical labor disputes. I mean, this is not a dispute between New York City and the subway and the bus employees. This is a whole different ball of wax here. There's a bigger safety issue here than my strike in 2005. Comprehensive reports on New York State prison strike. The New York State prison strike, initiated by correctional officers, had emerged as a single labor and security crisis affecting the state correction system since mid-February 2025. This report provides a detailed examination of the strike origins, progress and current status, drawing from multiple sources, including news articles, official statements, and social media insight. But like I said, we didn't know about the strike was going on until a few days ago. This was going on since the 17th. Again, the origin and cause, the strike began on February 17, 2025. It's an unsanctioned wild strike action by the correction officers, now authorized by the union, the New York State Correction Officer and Police Benefit Association, or NYSCOPBA. The prime drivers include chronic understaffing and overtime. Officers have been forced into double and triple shifts with reports of 16 to 24-hour shifts, leading to fatigue and safety concerns. A recent directive to run facilities at 7% staffing was rescinded during the strike, but tension remained New York focus. Opposition to HALT Act. The Humane Alternate to Long-Term Solitary Confinement Act, implemented in 2022, limits solitary confinement, which officers argue has increased violence. I mean, this is not for the normal guy who just go to prison, mind his own business, keep his nose clean, and everything fine. It's for the worst of the worst. But they limited that. Assaults on staff rose from 93% in 2021 to 173 per month in 2024, heightened fears. New York focus. Recent incidents and scrutiny. The beating death of inmate Robert Brooks at the Marcy Correction Facility in December 24 ruled a homicide, has intensified scrutiny on officers. Video evidence showed guards beating a cuffed inmate, leading to firing, and called for reforms, which officers perceived as unfair pressure. I mean, but the fact was, a lot of people are not being hired, and you have to blame this on the George Floyd situation and the Democrat policies that have been afflicting the country since 2020, leading to this situation. And plus, you got a illegal migrant, or illegal alien, whatever you prefer to call it, situation that's draining the finances of the state and the city of New York, and that money should be going to improve the prisons. Meanwhile, you got the MTA continue to find ways to get that money out of people's pocket, but they can't use some of that money to improve the prisons. So, strike progresses and spread. The strike initially started at 2 Western New York facilities, quickly spreading to over the system, affecting 30 to 40 of the state's 42 prisons by February 2025. Key developments included picketing and walkouts. Officers picket outside the facility in Attica, Clinton, and Sing Sing. Reports of staff refusing to show up for shifts. Inmates unrest. Riots erupted at Riverview Correction Facility on February 20, with inmates forcing guards out of the dorms, requesting a correction emergency response team intervention. Similar incidents occurred at Column Correctional Facility earlier with injury reports. There's a lot of news organizations filed here, like CNN, New York Post, so it's a bit of a mix. Impact on operation. All outside visits were canceled, disrupting inmates' access to lawyers, family, religious service, and medical treatment, as noted by Feeling LA, the Ally of Families for Justice. Of course, Kathy Hochul's response swiftly, deploying 3,500 National Guard troops on February 19, 2025 to secure the prisons and perform tasks like distributing meals and medications, but they're still having problems with the meals and the medications, despite the National Guard. We're not blaming the National Guard here. We're blaming the imbecile we got for a governor in the state of New York. So troops entered the facilities of Attica and Humvees and helicopters aimed to maintain order and support operations. Hochul invoked the detail law, obtaining an injunction against an Erie County State obtained an injunction from an Erie County State Supreme Court judge to end the strike. I think that judge's career might be coming to an end. if I'm not mistaken. Striking guards face potential fines or sanctions with legal action commenced for compliance. Yeah, I know. I just told you what they were doing to us when we had our strike. Concession and mediation. Acting Commissioner Daniel Martosero III suspended elements of the whole act and rescinded 70% of statute directives as concessions. Mediation were scheduled starting on February 21st with Martin F. Sher Heinzman Esquire as mediator, City and State of New York. Officers demand in union positions. The officers or officials demand as articulated in negotiation, including rescinding 70% of staff order, considering increased pay, although the recent CBA raise started at 6,500. Suspension limit on solitary confinement, citing increased violence. So reducing of the whole act didn't help the situation; it made it worse. Union made this additional request, details not shared, discussed with the DOCCS and Hochul office. Now, the union has not condoned the strike, but is active negotiating meeting with DOCCS and the governor's office for resolution. I think that's the prison system. But the fact is, why are you threatening to take union dues away from the union when the union didn't initiate the strike, didn't endorse it? This was a wildcat strike without union authorization. Union cannot be had their dues checked off, because if you do that and they challenge this later in court, this whole thing could go unravel. And if you're wondering what happened to us in 2005, after that, in 2011, the International Labor Organization ruled that the strike was legal. And the NTA in New York City Transit was left with egg in their face. Not to mention the two New York papers that were condemning the what they called the illegal strike back then had to remove the word strike from their newspapers afterwards. They no longer call it an illegal strike. They just call it a strike. So, current status and challenges of February 23rd, 2025. As the latest available information, the strike remains ongoing with no resolution reported by February 23, 25. Key points include ongoing negotiations. Mediation sessions are scheduled, but no timeline for return to normal condition has been established. City and State of New York. Escalating tensions. X post indicates alarming developments such as inmate takeovers of some prisons. Officers are being locked in, with one post on February 2025 mentioning 3942 prisons on strike and National Guard deployment. X post by I don't know who. Holco proposes to close up to 5 more prisons, seen as a negotiation tactic, has shocked lawmakers and added to the political complexity. But, the thing is, you should be condemning the governor, because this situation has gotten out of control. If it's starting in 2 prisons and it's spread it to almost 40 prisons, this is the governor's doing. You should not be supporting her. You should say, no, we're not going to support you. She's being unpopular. She's having a lot of issues. She was lying about the crime problem in the New York City subway system. That's why she keeps putting more and more National Guards there. Right now, those guards can't be used for the prison problem because they're in New York City, trying to stop the crime down there. Meanwhile, her popularity is taking hits because of all kinds of issues, including the incident where Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon were taken and then euthanized before the election. And then recently, the congested pricing. She's in New York City going to the turnstile for a press conference talking about the evil orange man and his king of New York. And she comes up with this copy of looks like a New York Time Magazine article Trump with a crown on it saying King of New York. I wonder how much that cost, because I know that didn't come from a cheap copier. That had to cost money. Money that she could have used for the prison system. But you see, the NTA can wipe out as much cash as they want to, and they keep asking for more and more and more. But the prison system can't do that. And I don't think it's justified that the tail law be put in this situation, because this is her doing. The correctional officers have had enough. I mean, even the inmates, some of them in the media was saying, we're getting tired of this nonsense too, and we understand what's going on with the correctional officers. I mean, we were hearing some of this testimony to people, but the correctional officer can't go on TV and say anything, because they're afraid, in addition to already penalty they're having, they're going to be hounded and intimidated and threatened with more sanctions, which is, I think, is why this strike happened in the first place. Because, they can't go out and speak out. They can't leak out information to the media, because their boss finds out it was them, they come after them. You're putting everybody in a catch-22 with no way out. That's not right. It's not fair. And it's wrong. I don't know if there's anything else here I can add. Of course, the strike highlights symptomatic issue within New York State prisons, including staffing shortage and the policy changes like the HALT Act, which has polarized officials and administrations. The involvement of the National Guard and report of inmate takeover suggests a potential for escalation, raising concerns about the safety and the staff and inmates. The state, under the state tail law, could lead to financial fines, impact officers financially, while family inmates face disruptions, fearing repeat of historical incidents like 1971 Attica massacre. We do not want to go through that. If you don't know what that is, you should look it up. It's 1971 Attica, Attica massacre. Check out your Google, whatever you use for search. That part came from CNN. This situation underscored the need for comprehensive reform in prison staffing and safety protocols, with ongoing negotiations critical to resolving the crisis without further incidents. And that's as far as it goes, because this video is getting too long as it is. But the fact is, this is Kathy Hochul's doing. This is stuff that's been happening since the George Floyd riots. And defund the police, defund the prisons. And this is what's led to a huge crisis. I mean, it started out in 2 prisons. Now it's up to 40. This is ridiculous. I think a federal takeover of the prison system may be in order. And as far as that judge, if he's dumb enough to do it, you're committing career suicide, because if a future Republican governor takes over, your job is done. You're gone. Simple as that. That's something you should be taking into consideration. If she allowed this situation to get out of control, she's not allowed to have that tail law. It should be denied. Because if you allow the tail law, she's just going to take her time continuing this nonsense. If there's no tail law, she's going to end this a lot quicker, as far as I know. So this is Alcan saying so long for now, and don't forget to stop.